for whom no gravestone, burial marker, or final resting place exists. The true power of the Holocaust Memorial of Miami Beach can be witnessed when survivors, serving as docents or guides, begin gathering to tell their stories of survival to school children, tourist and visitor groups from across the globe. The tours are not just informational. The docents relive personal tragedies, the loss of loved ones, the terror, pain, and humiliations they endured, and the occasional light of a miracle. These witnesses to history are the memorial's watchmen and women, and for the past 2 decades they have come, every day, rain or shine, as part of a sacred obligation to never forget. From the day the memorial opened, the landscape of Miami Beach was forever changed. Suddenly, in the heart of one of the world's great tourist cities, rose a stark reminder and stunning symbol of anguish and tragedy. A towering visual epitaph to one of the darkest chapters in human history. But for all its serene beauty and stark power, the memorial's innermost dimensions can only be revealed when the docents are here and bring it to life. In 2006, the memorial's leaders embarked on a mission to preserve some of the survivors' tours on film so that the echoes of their words live on. With each passing year, there are fewer survivors left. When the Holocaust Memorial of Miami Beach opened in 1990, there were 25 docents giving tours here. The following short films capture 4 of the memorial's remaining survivors.
These pictures speak for themselves. You're not reading the book of President Lincoln or George Washington. You're listening to actually history. This shows you. This enters your mind. These are witnesses. History touches you.
Born in Lodz, Poland in 1925, Joe Javak was only 14 when trapped in the deadly confines of the Lodz ghetto. When the ghetto was liquidated in 1944, he was taken to Auschwitz, where he said goodbye to his family for the last time. Liberated in 1945, Joe returned to Germany as a U.S. Army soldier during the Korean War.
Come around a little closer here so we can overhear. I can't scream too loud, but I'll speak to you so you can hear me. My name is Joe. I'm a survivor of 3 concentration camps and 1 ghetto. On the ground that you stand, I consider this a cemetery. My family is buried here, not in flesh, but in spirit. There are 32,000 names on this wall, so give it respect. Now, I'll take you over to the wall and we'll explain you all the things that was happening. You see this? I was tattooed like a horse. I cried. Somebody was holding my arm, somebody was holding my head. And I cried. The guy said to me, "What are you crying, dude? If you're going to live, you got a number." This is number 1. Number 2, this place is built for you, so you don't go through what I did. No tortures, no beatings, starvation, hunger, lies eating you, dirt, deprived of any right of a human being. That's why this place is built. Now I know in your days in your school you must have some wise guy around. I call the yo-yo. He comes over and he says, "Hey, I don't like him, he's Jewish, I don't like him, he's French, I don't like him, he's black, I don't like him, he's Spanish." This guy brings poison. Remember that. He comes over to you, tell him, "Get the hell away from me." That's one thing to listen to. We'll go over to the wall and you ask questions, take pictures, all you want. Don't be shy, I don't charge for the questions. Okay? Come. Watch this. Why did I take you over to this picture? Come close a little bit to me. You see this picture over here? When they conquered a city, when I say they, I'll explain you who they were. Not old German people were bad. They were the murderers called Einsatzkommando, Einsatzgruppen, the SS Sturmstaffette that you see on the uniforms that they wore. They were left over. The Wehrmacht army moved up. And they left over to clean up the cities. How did they clean up cities? They took out a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, and they hanged them. And everybody had to stay and watch it. See this over here, this guy over here with the high, always walking around with high boots and a whip in their hand, knocking on the boots. They don't speak, they scream, "Two men, come out here!" All you have to say, "Come over here." No, screaming. Why? To get you scared so you obey. They walked around with sniffing dogs, German shepherds and Dobermans. If it was a young guy and he see you, you were hiding under this, he'll shoot down, boom, boom, boom. If it was an elderly guy, he'll kick you a couple times and slap you, and that's it. There was no way out. The only way out was for him to save you. Let's move down a little further. Look at these kids laying on the grounds over here. Their parents were taken away, so they're laying on the grounds on the streets over here. They'll never see tomorrow. Kids your age, or my age that I was. They paid for it. Cowards. Cowards, not soldiers. Soldiers don't do things like these. But when Zhukov's army was already in Berlin, and General Patton with his Third Army will cross the Rhine into Germany, they came out with their guns, throwing it down. "Nicht schießen, nicht schießen, don't shoot, don't shoot." So what kind of soldiers were they? Why? Because they had the guns. Whom did they kill? Young kids with old people? But when they met Patton's Third Army and Zhukov's Russian army over there, they knew who soldiers were. Listen to the hypocrisy over here. Hitler. He said to his commanders, "Ich will nur blonde Haare and blaue Augen haben." I want kids with blonde hair and blue eyes. Look at the garbage can over there. He had black mustache, black hair, and black eyes. Where was the reason? What did they do? What did they left? Cowards. They put anger, hate in people's minds, and they paid for it. March there. Take a look at this guy over here. He thinks he's God. He thinks he's God right over here. He screamed. Here, He screamed out, Frauen und Kinder am links, women with children to the left. Men am rechts. And I came over to him like this to pass the inspection on this side over here. To my look, somebody called him, Hanser! So he turned around. As he turned around, I walked over to the safe side. Coincidence of life. Now, they took these women with the children into another place. They screamed, Ausziehen, get undressed. Du wirst die Klauen auf die Erde abstellen, put your clothes on the floor. Wenn du auf die Dusche auskommst, when you come out of the shower, und du jemand anderes Kleidung holst, and you take somebody else's clothing, I'll kill you. So naturally, take a look at this, with the kids and everything. Where are they going? They're going to take a shower, eh? No ways. They opened the gates, put them on the inside, they locked the gates, a guy on top on a window, a small little window, threw down a poison powder called Cyclan B, Cyclone B. It took between 12 and 14 minutes to die. When they opened the gates, there was blood on the wall, they scraped trying to get up. Who ever heard of gassing people? Or by the hundreds, by the thousands. This is a reminder. You think about that when I'm speaking to you. That yo-yo that comes around over there telling you I don't like him, he's Jewish, I don't like him, he's Spanish, I don't like him, he's French. Tell him, get the hell away from me. He brings poison to you, and he'll pay for it as sure as I stay right in front of you. Let's march down a little bit. Now we're coming to a picture that makes me laugh. All that I've been telling you these things, take a look who he's holding a gun to. Take a look at this. Who is he holding a gun to? A big hero, eh? That's Auschwitz Center. That was my home for a long time. It says on top, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. They should live so. I was working, why wasn't I free? Right down there, building 27 was my home with another 20 some odd boys. Take a look at these women over here, prisoners in Auschwitz. Every part of their body was shaved. You know what they did with their hair? They made mattresses. They sent it to the Russian front so the German soldiers can put it to the foxholes and don't freeze the footsies. Elie Wiesel. He wrote books, you probably heard about him. This bunk, 3 on a bunk, on the bottom, on the middle, and on the top. My bunk was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bunks away. 5 bunks. There's a 5th bunk over here. No mattresses. The lies were eating me. Take the story into your mind. You don't want this to happen to you. You don't want this to go through. We're living in a paradise here. This is not a country. This is a heaven. We find out other people in other countries, the young youth, how they live. Every camp has towers, east, west, north, and south. And on the towers they have machine guns with guys over there constantly watching it. I don't know what they're watching. Where will you go? What will you do? Who's going to hide you? Well, you run into the forest, temperature's 25 below zero. You got to make a fire. They come in with tanks or with guns or bombs, whatever it is. There was no way out. Here they are. These are called Sonderkommando. They did the burning. There were Germans there. They undressed the women, took away their clothes, they shaved them. Do you know what they did to them? They castrated them. Do you know what I'm talking about? The teacher will tell you later. Eisenhower, Patton, and Omar Bradley, commanders-in-chief of the United Nations and the United States Army, they brought the Germans up to this camp and they said, the people that lived around it, the farmers, they said, look what you have done. They said, we knew that there was a camp, but we didn't know what they were doing with the people. Look at this woman here. This is how she looked with her baby before the war. This is how she looked when she was liberated. I weighed 63 pounds. The lies were eating me. I was eating roots, looking for roots on the ground. Roots on grass, because the grass somebody already tore off and ate it. Now we'll come to a very important picture. The narration of Buchenwald. At 61 years ago, with a few days, I was liberated. There were 422 boys. The camp was liberated by Pakistan Army. They drove up with their tanks and with their trucks. They opened the gates and they brought in containers of delicious food. We grabbed it. Somebody stole mine. I have a little pot that I used for coffee or something. Somebody stole it from us. I used my cap. I dumped it inside and I ate it. We got sick. We started to throw up. The doctors came over from the army and the chaplains and rabbis said, stop it right now. We cried, no, no, give us this food. We said, no. The food was too fat for us. We haven't eaten food like this in years. No meat, no eggs, no cheeses, no butter. So the stomachs were only used to the garbage that they fed up with. A half of the group went to France, a half went to Switzerland. You see this character right here? That's me. Right here. I made it.
The Holocaust has left the survivors with a lot of scars. It's left us with physical scars. It's left us with emotional scars. It's left us with scars that are beyond healing.
Born in the wine country of Slovakia in 1929, David Schachter was only 11 when thrust into the bitter darkness of Auschwitz. By the time he was rescued by the Czechoslovakian underground in 1945, he had lost 105 relatives to the ravages of the Holocaust. The only known survivor of his family, David is a founder of the Holocaust Memorial of Miami Beach.
The Jews of Slovakia were the first ones to be taken to Auschwitz. My father was taken away, and myself and my brother, my older brother, my mother and my sisters, we were taken away on Pesach of 1941. To me, I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years older than this little boy when I was gathered up and taken. I was 11 years and 4 months old. The very next tablet shows a new phenomenon, and that's called the ghetto. The Germans had to isolate us. They had to dehumanize us. Our value was absolutely nothing. We were not fed. We were not treated when we were ill. If someone had an accident, the easiest and quickest and best way was to just arbitrarily, not even wasting a second, just shoot them and then get it over with. And that was the method of getting rid of another Jew. Having lived through the Holocaust, having seen what happened to 1.5 million of our children, this picture kind of became like dulled and chiseled into my mind, into my memory. They would find these children and brutally slay them, and do it with such gusto and with such joy, because they were Jewish children, of course. So it didn't matter. The value of these children was nothing. they were able to kill 6 million helpless people. And I still have nightmares about the train ride, because we lost our humanity. We weren't human anymore. So if someone died, if someone was smothered to death, theoretically you thought you'd have a little more space. This tabloid in front of me talks about these victims that participated in digging their own graves and then were pushed as they were naked into the graves. And as they were approaching the graves, were shot dead. I remember them making fun of it. Listen, you Jew, you're not worth the bullet that I'm going to use to kill you. I was convinced. I believed it. There's one man right here. He says left, and he says right, and he says left, and he says right. And in a single day, in a single 24-hour period, they were gassing and burning on average of 30,000 Jewish men, women, children. I'm 76 years old, and the older I get, and the more I see this blatant lie, this blatant, this most miserable trick. Look at it. It tells you, just come in, don't worry about a thing, because we're going to put you to work and you'll be a free person. Arbeit macht frei was very easy for Jews to understand because it sounds like Yiddish. And the world has seen this a million times. A billion times. And yet they still believe, these godforsaken deniers of the Holocaust, in addition to being so busy killing us, this despicable person called Dr. Mengele, he was using children to experiment and find easier ways of killing them, to create monsters. There are no words that exist to tell the world what they did to our children. They're killing them so fast, they couldn't get rid of the corpses. And then when they couldn't get rid of the corpses, they were afraid that somebody might see and someone might talk. So they created these mass graves because the crematoriums couldn't burn them to death, couldn't burn the remains of the bones and the skeletons. Treblinka was a killing factory. There is a mountain that has to be maybe 6, 7, 8 stories high. The ashes of people. It's been there for 60 years. And when you go to Treblinka, you're walking on the remains of our people. We're always mindful that this is a memorial. A Ner Tamid has to have its rightful place We have this Nerta meat that we brought in lit from Yad Vashem in Israel 17 and a half years ago. This light has been on since then. Even during the hurricanes, the flame was never extinguished. And of course, I come here and I say Kaddish. Very, very seldom do I miss being here Saturday morning. And I come and I pay tribute to the 6 million of our people. And on tablet 1 to my left are all my loved ones, my family, inscribed the whole 105 of them or so. And I come and say Shabbat Shalom to them. And this is my Saturday morning ritual.
Forgive the Nazis for their
They did. Can you forgive for killing your father and your mother, your sister and her kids, and my brothers? Can you ever forgive? You forget for a little bit, but you don't forgive. You cannot forgive.
Born in the Czech city of Rejčiv, Anne Rosenheck was only 13 when her friends abandoned her in the shadow of Nazi anti-Semitism. Rounded up with her family, she was sent to Auschwitz. Sentenced to death by Dr. Mengele himself, Anne miraculously avoided the crematorium. She was later rescued by American GIs, but her entire family would perish.
Okay, Molly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am from Czechoslovakia. I was a year younger than you. In 1939 came a turnover. At that time, I was in Czechoslovakian schools. My brothers were taken away into forced labor camps. I had a married sister who had 2 children. Her husband was taken away to forced labor camp. I was the only one that remained at home. Times had changed desperately and badly. My friends that were my friends that I played with were Christians. All of a sudden, they weren't my friends anymore. I used to play with them in the woods. No more. Nobody showed up. I didn't have any more friends. And
They didn't want to play with you?
and they didn't know, they didn't want to know their parents and they themselves. Because we were playing in the woods, they could have just come to the woods, they never did come anymore. And I was actually isolated at that time. Now comes 1944, March. A March in Europe, it's still cold, rainy, muddy. I was with my sister at that particular night. Early in the morning, Papa came and told us that we are under this, the very first ones that are going to be taken away. And I went back home. A few minutes later, SS and the Hungarian gendarmerie showed up in our house, and whatever we were able to carry, in 10 minutes they made us collect the stuff and come with them to the railroad track. This was really, really ugly. There were loads of dead people because they were pushing them into the cattle carts and they couldn't get up, and they were beating them from the back, and there was mountains already, people that were trampled. Hundred and 9 people were in this particular cattle car. They brought up 2 buckets. One bucket was with water, which disappeared in seconds, and the other one was sanitary purposes. Imagine sanitary purposes, 109 people in this particular cattle car. For 4.5 days, I refused to go to the bathroom. So during the night, before we entered in Auschwitz, Papa woke me up and said, everybody's sleeping, you must go, and started to cry. You're going to burn up. You must go to the bathroom. It's an ugly thing, but it isn't ugly because it happened and it is so. And I managed to go. Now we are arriving to Auschwitz, which was actually Birkenau. Now they made the men separate from the women. Papa came and hugged us all. He knew that this is the last time he's going to see us, and he had a foresight. And he saw that this is the last time, and it was the last time that he saw us, and said goodbye to us. Now, the women and the children had to line up in a row of 5 in a column. Mama, my sister, and myself, and the 2 kids, we were holding hands, the 5 of us. I don't remember where I was. Was I in the middle? Was I at the end? Whose hand was I holding? Probably I do not want to remember because I let the hands go. What does it mean I let the hands go? Mengele, whom we call the angel of death, had a cane in his hand, and he pointed at me with a cane, and he said, he pushed me to the left. Mama, my sister, and the 2 kids went off to the right. You heard the blasting music in the background, and my sister was worried for me. She turned around and screamed back to me, Antika, you're going to be okay. We're going to see you. Don't panic. Just don't lose hope. They were worried for me. I am here, and they were dead. 10 minutes later, they were dead. As they walked away from that path, they walked straight to the crematorium. I never saw them or heard about them, but I saw the chimneys with the flames. So now, again, I was marched up and put again in a line of 5 with the rest of the women. And they walked us into a huge big barrack. Now, at this particular big barrack, they make us get undressed. Oh, forgive me. I see crying around me, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They made us get undressed and put the clothes down next to you. The only thing that you can hold in your hands is your shoes. So now they tell you to get undressed. Nobody undresses. Would have you undressed? Sure not, don't would I in the beginning, but they made sure. Took seconds. They shot several as they went along, and they beat up so many, and we undressed quick. Now I have the shoes, my clothes, and it's not bundled. I don't know what to do with the shoes. Do I cover my face? Do I cover my body? I didn't know what to do with the shoes. So now you are there, and they make you line up in a single line. Now you come before a man, and he shaves your hair. My hair, which was normally braided, was shaved up, but not only my hair on my head, but wherever you had puberty hair was shaven by a man. Again, you were shamed, but you looked at the others, which were elderly, and they went through the same thing. So you just looked, and somehow you lived with it at that time. Now, again, from there, we were brought into a huge big barrack again. And in that particular barrack, there was showers. This particular day, it was, for us, it came water. But normally, in this particular barrack, pellets of cyclone pellets would come down, and they were gassed. For us, they needed us, it came water. Several days later was a selection. Everybody aimed to get out of Auschwitz. We found out this is a killer camp. You're gonna get killed sooner or later. We came before Mengele quite many times, and you come before Mengele, your body had to be like an alabaster. He put you to a side. There was about 2,700 women. I was in the end tail of this lineup. Now, whoever got up that morning with red eyes was pulled to a side. Whoever had a pimple, pulled to a side. Who accidentally coughed when Mengele saw him, put to a side. They filled their quota, they didn't need us, they mixed us up with the ones that were selected for crematoria. The next morning came a woman and collected us all and brought us before the crematoria. To me, she said, I'm going to come before Mengele, he's going to see this time that I'm a child. Step on your tippy toes, walk fast. She prepared me. He is going to scream at you. Make believe you don't understand, you don't hear. He said, hand runter with the shore runter. And I make believe I don't understand. I walked quickly as she told me past, and he screamed at me and he screamed after me. But I walked so fast and I moved in between all the women, there was about 1,000, and she told me what to do, and that's what I did. And I ended up, I went out on transport. Now it was Christmas Day, and they beat me up and they brought me before the SS, the main SS woman. She was the Lagerführerin, she was the head of the concentration camp. She looks at me and she says to me, "Wie alt bist du, Kleine? How old are you, little one?" 17. I said, 17. So now she sees that I'm not 17. So she screams again, "Wie alt bist du, Kleine?" So now a woman from my hometown saw that I'm going to be in trouble. So she screamed from the back. She's only a child. So now she walks into the kitchen and comes out and hands me a bread. Do you know what that meant? They called my number the next day, and I was handed by her a piece of wood, and each time she would go through by the Zellapel, which means she was counting people, she would write on paper the numbers. I didn't go out to factories anymore. I remained there. She was giving me different clothes. By then I already had wooden shoes, and I had to take care of her room. So now it's already the beginning of April. God was with me. The Americans were closing in, and they were running with us to Dachau, which was a men's concentration camp, killer camp. All the Jews were taken away. The crematoria couldn't burn in Dachau. They were taking them by train to the Tyrols to kill them there. There was mountains and mountains of bodies. In other words, 2-3 stories high. They could not burn them. That night, I was liberated. The Americans came in, and you want to hear the first American? Which was a sight to see, in a fatigue uniform, with a helmet and a net on top of the helmet, and a machine gun in his hand, and in his mouth, a gun and a pipe, chewing gum and a pipe. That was my liberation, and that was something, a sight to see. So this was part of my story.